Welcome to the Beyond Divorce, Embracing Change podcast. My name is Michael Flores, and I will be your host while we explore the complex journey of divorce with empathy, insight, and practical knowledge. Whether you're contemplating separation, in a divorce, or looking for support post-divorce, our episodes provide expert guidance, stories, and strategies to help you through every step of the process. We are actual therapists, helping clients who sit on our couches every day through their difficulties of divorce. You are not alone. Join us as we delve in and find solutions that give you hope again. We're glad you're here.
This podcast is not intended to replace legal or personal help. This podcast is for informational purposes only.
Well, thank you so much for being here on Beyond Divorce, Embracing Change. Today's guest is Diana Romanov. She is the founder of Romanov Law PC, an award-winning family law attorney licensed in both California and Germany, and a certified family law specialist. Diana is also the author of Divorce Like a Boss and the host of the YouTube channel Divorce Like a Boss with Diana, where she created more than 400 videos breaking down complex divorce topics for nearly 200,000 engaged viewers. Before building her practice, Diana served as a prosecutor at the Regional Superior Court of Berlin, and today she's known for combining legal precision with transparent, client-centered advocacy. In this episode today, we're talking about the rise of the digital divorce and how virtual mediation, AI-driven tools, and online platforms are changing the way divorce works and what that means for families trying to navigate an already overwhelming process. Diana, it's so great to have you here. Welcome to Beyond Divorce.
Thanks
How
for
are you
having
today?
me.
You're welcome.
Doing great.
Wonderful. What's the temperature like? Because you're in California, right?
I'm sitting right now in my home office in Mill Valley
Okay.
and
Yeah.
overlooking the bridge and the view.
Oh,
And
wow.
this is why I'm in California, really.
That's it. Yeah, we're
That's it.
talking about building bridges here too, right? We're bridging families together and getting them the information they need, especially in divorce. So you got a bridge
Right.
to look at to remind you. That's so wonderful.
Yes.
Well, Diana, thank you. Digital divorce. What is that?
The first thing that comes to mind right now is when clients call me and they say, but ChatGPT told me, well, when I was asking this question, basically I know everything and the strategy is this because ChatGPT said so, but I'm calling you to just confirm since, you're the lawyer, ChatGPT is not. So this is the first thing that comes to mind as a challenge. But the flip side is really AI is becoming such a helpful tool available to everyone, whether it's ChatGPT or Grok or closed source AI, which I prefer to use for confidentiality.
Okay.
And there are now a lot of them for lawyers specifically. So it
Wow.
becomes much more, it's so much a shortcut from going to Westlaw, the original source, than to
Yeah.
going to AI source and type the problem, and it provides narrow list of cases that apply to this particular case.
Okay. And does it matter how you prompt it? Is that like a big part of that? Is you got to make sure your prompts are accurate, or is that
Yes.
important?
So in the first scenario, when a client calls me and says, well, this is what the law is, and this is why I will succeed, and this is why the strategy is good, the first question I have is, what prompt did you put? Send me the prompt. Because the prompt, if it's biased, ChatGPT will almost always agree.
That is so funny. I love that you asked that. I think people need to know, like, the prompt also matters because that's what it's working off of to give you the information you're seeking. So
And speaking of the prompt, so I took a masterclass on the Masterclass app about AI and how to work with AI. And apparently there are when I give a prompt, it connects to a certain engine or certain source. So when I give a prompt, I say, you are a top-notch attorney from Stanford practicing family law for 30 years. Now, uh, if you were a judge, how would you decide in this case? Because sometimes, and I give general facts, not client's information. And sometimes I am biased by nature. When a client tells me a story, I tend to get very compassionate and on my client's side, which is what I'm getting paid for. But on the other hand, I also have to maintain cool head and work as if I were a judge, because the only person I need to convince is not the other side, is not my client. It would be who will decide about this case. So I have to be able to switch roles. On one hand, understand my client and be compassionate and tell them the law and give them confidence. But on the other hand, I have to be practical about what the judge will say.
That's right. We have the lawyers around here that I've heard them use is, I don't always drink my client's Kool-Aid, is an old term they used to use.
Yes.
It's like you hear the story, but you have to also think about all the other factors that factor in. I mean, you have two narratives from the parents. You might have a third narrative from the child. And then you have to think about how the court might rule, how the judge might see things. My job is to advocate for the client, right? The lawyer's job is advocating for the client and then helping the judge to see what that is, and then hopefully making the decision in the best interest of the kids.
And I noticed also at the beginning of my career, and I see that in younger generation of lawyers, they're making the same mistake. They feel, especially the first 5 years, they feel, okay, the rate is lower. They're eager, they're enthusiastic, and they're on client side. Well, my wife put, let's say, a tracking device in my car. Oh my God, this is abuse. We need to file for domestic violence restraining order. And, they go after things like that without balancing cost benefit. What damage will it create? What if the wife thinks, well, you know what, actually, there was a coercive control. I didn't think about it. But now that he filed this stupid thing about tracking, because we have Tesla app and it's automatically tracking whether I want it or not, I'm gonna get after him and get sole custody. And that's what I have seen sometimes younger lawyers do. They get too wrapped up in client's story, and they know the law so well because they just came out of law school. They learned, they know exactly, but they don't zoom out from a bird view and see like a chess game. If I do this, what is the other side potentially will do? And then talk to the client. Well, if your wife could get you, what would that be? And the client will exactly know what that could be.
That's right.
And then and the same thing if the client calls me and says, I don't blindly believe a client when they tell me their story. I verify. So I had a potential client calling me and saying, so here's the deal. She filed for a domestic violence restraining order against me. We have a child, and she's blaming and claiming falsely that I am a drug addict. And I am not. She's doing it to get custody advantage. So far, so good. Then my next sentence, and he came as a referral from another lawyer. So
Right.
I already had a tendency to trust the client because the other lawyer said, this is a good client. He's not lying. The case is good. But I learned the hard way to always verify. So I told this client, well, I hear you. And the judge in California will not be able to order follicle test because the judge cannot do that by law. However, if you volunteer and take a follicle test, which will verify that at least for the last 3 months, you haven't taken anything, and the client says, oops, I need to wait for a month.
Yeah. Well, and it goes to show how important it is to be honest with your attorneys. Your attorney's your advocate, and clients don't tell their attorneys everything, especially in divorce proceedings. They get so caught in the tug of war game, right? So yeah. And you said something earlier, and it made me want to go back. You talked about this when you were early in your career with this. Why are you doing this type of work? What drove you to do this?
There was a moment in time where I realized that I like people and I like to connect with people and I liked a drama. I was raised in a family that my parents have been divorcing 5 times. And
Oh,
the first
wow.
time they started to divorce each other is when I was 6 years old. So I have seen the drama so in and out. And I was in therapy, still am, for the last how many years. And I thought, how can I turn my familiar addiction to drama? I would say not addiction, but I feel comfortable with the drama. A
It's
lot
what
of
I know.
lawyers. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
all I know. That's all I
Yeah.
know. So this is my familiar terrain. And how can I turn it? So when I thought about it, I thought, okay, well, I could be a estate planning attorney, but really it
That doesn't sound like enough drama for you.
doesn't seem like there will be enough. So family law was perfect because it gives me an opportunity to go to court and shine as I wanted to be an actress. It gives me an opportunity to connect with clients where
Right.
I was on the other side. It gives me an opportunity to feel and help children indirectly. For example,
Mhm.
if I know the children are involved, I know what would be mediation would be better, co-parenting would be better. So coming from a background of knowing the pain of not only from, and I have been divorced myself, so I have been in shoes of all actors in this
Yeah.
scenario. I have been a child of divorcing parents. I have been I divorced my first time in Germany, and I have seen how my parents interacted with each other during the divorce. And in
Yep.
family law, we used to say that in criminal law, the best people, the worst people acting in their best behavior, and in family law, the best people acting in their worst behavior. Because
I haven't heard it like that, but that makes sense.
right? Because in family law, people are at the worst period of time. They're losing
Yes.
their loved ones. They're fighting about the custody of their children. They're finding out about affairs. They're finding out about debts they didn't know about.
Wow.
And they just act miserable sometimes.
Yeah.
And sometimes they act so against their own lawyers. And I
That's
have been
correct.
there too, by the way. I
Yeah.
have not been nice to my own lawyer, and I learned from that. So when
Mm.
clients are not being nice to me, I feel, yep, that's exactly the place they're supposed to be, I guess.
Yeah. And it's so amazing you've had all these roles. So that leads me to another question is, what have you found that the way that this technology is changing the way traditional divorces are being solved? How is technology helping traditional divorces be solved now?
Gosh, it becomes, I feel it's maybe 5 or 10 years until 50% of our tedious work is going to be replaced by AI.
Oh my gosh, are you serious? You're
So
saying 5 to 10 years?
well, maybe shorter. So
Oh, wow.
for example, just within the last year,
Okay.
when I get bank records, let's say a wife claims or husband claims, no matter, the other side claims they have they have $5,000 income and they have no other money. But I know for a fact that they live in a home that they have to pay mortgage, expenses, and they should be either renting it out or they should
Hmm.
supplement somewhere because their expenses are higher than their income. Doesn't make sense. So I subpoena all the bank records and then I get 3 years of 5 bank records. So what I do with AI was closed source. Before, I would have to go through each, or I would send it to an accountant. But I'm so curious that even before I send it to an accountant, I would go through and see, And so what I do now, I drop 20 bank statements for each bank for the last year and a half, and I give closed source AI a task to prepare a profit and loss statement and to point out transactions that are over $500, where they're coming from, number one, and also if there are other banks identified for this particular account holder that hasn't been disclosed. For example, if I only have Chase Bank, but then within Chase Bank, there is a transfer to the same person to another bank account with the Chase Bank or a different bank, that means they haven't disclosed another bank.
You're using AI like to investigate. It's doing it's doing all that legwork.
Expedite it becomes, because a human error is more likely to happen when there are so many little transactions. But
Correct.
AI is so much faster, so much more efficient. So before, I would charge the client 2 hours to go through 5 banks, 1 year of bank records for each bank. Right now, it's 20 minutes.
Oh my goodness. That's what you meant by it's replacing. Yeah.
Yes. So I still have to verify, right? Sometimes even the closed source or any, there is hallucination going on, but it's improving.
Yep.
It invents things that are not there.
Yeah, when you said verify, I think that's the part that I think makes really great attorneys different, right? Is they're seeing what they have, they're using their resources, but then they go in and verify. It's like that second check, right? I remember when we were in school here, we were always told to check our work. Like before I turned my test in, the teachers would always say, check your work before you turn it in, right? That usually helped me. A lot of times I wouldn't. And it sounds like in law, that's extremely important, is to check your work, verify that what you have in front of you is exactly what you're trying to search for. And that's why those prompts are probably so important. You might have to consider training attorneys on how to prompt correctly. You got to learn how to use it.
Well, I'm so busy with the work I like to do that.
Yeah,
I'm sure there is a class about how to prompt.
Oh, I bet there is. And man, if it's not out there, I bet it's coming. I mean, especially you said 5 to 10 years, AI is going to change the whole, 50%, you said, is going to be different in how we use these tools in changing law. So I guess the next question is, who's going to benefit most from these tools? Is this going to be the families that are divorcing? Is it going to be the attorneys? Who's benefiting from these digital divorce tools?
I think it will depend on what tool we're using. For example, right now, both parties benefit. I benefit from not having to go through tedious work that I don't like to do anyway, because I'm a lawyer. I don't like to look through the bank statements, but I'm curious and I need to make my argument. So that benefits the client because they're not paying me as much for what AI is already doing. And this is subscription based. So that's one. I think when robots will come out, I will be first in line to get process servers replaced. Because if robot can file things, then it saves 2 professions.
Wow.
So right now I have to e-file. Well, I don't e-file, so my assistant has to e-file things.
Correct.
And also the process server sometimes has to, if we file an ex parte, an urgent request, or DVRO, domestic violence restraining order, then it needs to be personally delivered to the court. Right now, a person has to go. Later, maybe it will be a robot who has to go, and I will buy a robot for $20,000 a year, and it will save the client already a lot of money.
You're telling me you envision robots are going to be taking the place of these humans that have to present these things either to
Correct.
the court.
And if I buy 5 robots, then I can offer that service to other attorneys and say, hey,
oh my gosh,
instead of paying $200 to a process server,
right,
it will be $20.
I can't believe this. This is going to change everything.
Yeah.
I mean, literally change everything. Now I'm wondering, in California.
And another thing. If self-driving is resolved without supervision, right now I still drive to the courthouse with FSD. I cannot text. I really don't like. I can talk on the phone as much, but if that is gone, then the time I'm not on driving, I can be working, so it becomes more efficient, and it will drive me back.
Yeah,
without extra cost to the client. So I don't have to take an Uber, where the client has to pay for the Uber so I can work. So it becomes pretty cool.
You have really found a link with all these. I'm just impressed how you put all those pieces together and go, look at how much difference this will make. You're so forward thinking. I'm so impressed by this. I'm really serious. I don't think there's enough trainings out there to help people understand how to think that way. You said earlier, as an attorney, we have to think like a chessboard, right? You're playing
Right.
chess,
Yes.
but you're playing a different kind of chess. You're playing digital chess. You're like thinking way ahead of how can robots help and self-driving cars, and because the law requires things to be delivered a certain way, but we can do it this way. I mean, that's just
Well,
so amazing.
I feel if I don't do that, then I will be so behind the curve, and I hate being behind the curve. So I
I can
feel
tell.
I
Yeah.
feel it's my job to make sure the clients benefit from it as much as I benefit from it.
Well, the thing you said that clients, our listeners are going to love is going, wow, that's going to cut cost. I mean, because
Absolutely.
divorce is so expensive, it's going to cut
Yes.
cost. I mean,
Lawyers become commodity because it's going to be so easy
right.
to even draft things. I could imagine that soon we will be able to give a prompt to a closed source AI and say, these are the facts. Here's the case. Drop everything and prepare a very fine declaration without hallucination, proper law, and it will create a declaration within minutes.
I'm just that is crazy. So I know here in Texas they'll have clients, or I'll guess the clients' attorneys. They'll have their clients do mediation, and it's typically not in the beginning of the divorce, but as they're getting closer to a final hearing, they'll have them do mediations. Are you noticing that the digital work is happening in mediations also? Are they using any kind of digital resources in mediations?
Well, mediation is when both parties come
Mm-hmm.
to, let's say, even Zoom room in a shuffled Zoom room and try to settle this case in a way that's amicable.
Yes.
And in order to settle this case, all the pre-work needs to be done, which is filing for divorce, exchanging financial disclosures, preparing an offer letter. And along these steps, there are tools to use. I haven't seen a tool that helps prepare financial disclosures. That's something I would love to see, where a
Yes.
client would drop all the bank records and say, please prepare assets and debt form and income and expense declaration. This is all I have. Bank records, tax returns, credit cards, prepare that form. I really would like to see that happening soon. So
Oh,
that would be one step. Then I know Bliss Divorce has a software, but that creates a digital AI report how things can be divided in kind, meaning not to sell all the homes, not to sell everything and then divide the cash. But let's say if one party says, I would like to keep a home, and the other party says, I would like to keep all the retirement accounts, then it will generate based on all money available assets and debts. It will create, it basically replaces in a way a forensic accountant.
oh my gosh.
What I would like to see also in the future is post-separation accounting, marital standard of living analysis, where AI could do it in a second, where we drop 5 years of bank records prior to the date of separation, and also income and expense declarations, and say, please prepare marital standard of living analysis, please adjusting dual household adjustment and inflation of living, and what's the cap. I wonder, it might exist already. I don't know. But that would be, so to answer your question, how people would use AI and how digital divorce would look like in mediation, that's the steps to get to mediation. In mediation itself, I don't know if, I feel mediators are very talented people because they have
Yes.
to navigate not only the emotional turmoil that's underneath of whatever claim the other spouse or the spouse has. They have to navigate that and then sort of work with it to
Mm-hmm.
get to a resolution that works for both parties, where both parties walk away feeling like there's something they gained, something they lost. But so I don't think AI can replace that human element. This is why I don't think our profession as lawyers will be eliminated by robots, or a judge cannot be replaced by a robot. It has this element of humanity,
Yes.
of compassion, understanding human emotions, mimic. I don't think robots would be able, even if they were able to do all of this, it wouldn't feel the same.
I agree with you. And I go back into that there's a spiritual source here. At work, I do believe that there's a deeper, that's just why humans can connect a certain way. And I think that the robots will eventually take over these pesky tasks that we have to do, that we're just like, oh, you can give the robot that task. But when it comes to actually engaging with the person, because like you said, we have the best people in their worst place. They need that human element, I think, present to help get through things. I've watched people in therapy literally heal in front of me, right? Robots aren't going to create that. And I agree with you. And I'm sure you've had clients, you let them talk through their narrative and their things, and you've probably watched them personally heal as they're working with you. And I've seen attorneys do that here. So I have no doubt it's happened for you. And so, yeah, I agree with you. I don't know how it would help. And I agree with mediators. The mediators I've met here, a lot of them are former judges. So they're judges that no longer are on the bench or are no longer in the seat, and they become mediators, and they're really good at seeing both sides, right? And I kind of laugh because I'm like, there's like a therapeutic approach that some of these mediators take. They're not therapists, but they have a therapeutic feel. And so I agree with you. In the digital world, that piece may miss. Is that where else do you think the digital world will miss stuff? I hear how it's going to help in some ways, and it's so amazing what you told us. How do you suppose it's going to be a problem? Do you anticipate any problems with it?
Well, maybe I'm the wrong person to ask that, because I'm idealizing this digital world to my advantage. But where I could see that when people are not able to afford attorneys and they turn to digital resolution, that it would make them feel not heard.
Right.
It would make them feel that something is missing, but they wouldn't know what, because they haven't spoken to an attorney. There will be no sparkle in the eyes. I had a client who, after a consultation, she spoke to 5 lawyers, and finally she hired me. And I'm like, you spoke to 5 lawyers? Why me? And
Good question.
yeah. And she said, because when we talked about this particular topic, I could see how you would lighten up and how you would sparkle, how your eyes would sparkle about how compassionate you are, or passionate, actually, passionate about this topic that I haven't seen in others. And I feel that's the human element. This is the soul, the human core, the connection that we all actually really want to have with other people. That will be missed.
So that's your new way of saying it, Diana. The robots miss the sparkle.
Robots miss the sparkle.
There it is.
They cannot fake the sparkle.
Robots can't give you sparkle. I can. Yeah, that's a great way to do that. Well, see, they're talking through it. So kind of I want to get into this one last piece, and then I want you to talk about your books. But how is this digital divorcing, when it comes to trust and privacy and security over the client's information? How is AI protecting that, or what are we doing in it to protect those things for our clients?
Using closed source AI tools.
Yes.
Where we pay high subscription and it doesn't go anywhere in open source.
Closed source AI. And so I guess if attorneys are using that, they need to actually seek out closed source AI resources and pay subscriptions, which are then designed to protect, like HIPAA, privacy, trust, those kinds of things. Is that what I'm hearing?
Correct.
Okay.
And if someone is using open source AI, for example, ChatGPT, Grok, Gemini, then do not include information that is confidential. Confidential would be mediation reports,
right?
Financial records, tax returns with social security numbers.
Oh, I could see someone messing that one up.
So
yeah.
Just to use only information that is publicly available versus very private information.
Absolutely. I'm so glad you said that. I just want people, I think that's the fear with AI, it seems, with people. It's like they love it, but there's that little bit of, oh, but I don't know, if we use it, it could mess this up or make the. So I think you saying there's ways to protect that information. It's using either an open source or a closed source. So know your sources, right? And learn your prompts in that situation. I want you to talk about your books before we wrap up. Tell me about these books you got out there. Tell me the one you said there's one published, and you mentioned earlier to me that I guess you're working on another.
So I finished the second book, but the first book, it's called Divorce Like a Boss. It's available on Amazon in Kindle, Audible, and hard copy, soft copy format. This book was designed to help clients to go when they're the readers and they don't like to watch and listen, and they wake up at 3 a.m. and they have all these questions and they want to know from A to Z in a very plain language what divorce would look like, how to get your team together, how to dress in court, how much it will cost, how long it will take. So over 13 years of answering almost the same questions over and over again, I decided to create not only this book, but also a YouTube channel.
Yes.
Where it's similar to the book. I take one topic. Let's say I take a topic, Ultimate Guide for Spousal Support, and I explain in 17 minutes everything someone needs to know about spousal support in California from all angles, from the receiving angle and from supporting angle. And that way, when they consult me, they don't need to spend 17 minutes listening to me telling the same thing they can get for free. And I benefit, so I don't have to repeat the same thing. And I don't get bored to say. So I will just be focused on their specific situation and running the calculation instead of explaining the law.
Right.
And the second book was based on how to save the marriage, was inspired by James Sexton. He is an attorney, family law attorney in New York.
Yes.
And so I saw his book and I was like, damn, this is such a good idea. But I will write it from a female perspective, from my own version of seeing things. And so this book is about 5 stories that, of course, I disguised the clients and changed the names. But it's 5 stories where, when you're in the hallway waiting for the judge to come out and you wait for 2 hours and the client tells you everything, why the red flags, how divorce would have been avoidable if they did X. And so these learning lessons from clients during the divorce process applied to my own life.
Yep.
How it affected me and my divorce and my current marriage and my relationship with people. So I created a book, How to Save Marriage, from how to avoid or how to notice red flags, how to avoid certain mistakes.
Oh my gosh, you have just come full circle, Diana. I'm so good. When does that book, that second one you mentioned, when is that book going to hit the market? Do you have is there a time frame for that?
So the first book I published myself. The second book I'm holding for a publisher, for a bigger publisher. And so agents, if you hear this podcast and you're connected
I have no doubt.
If you're connected to 5 top publishers, I'm here. And yes, still.
Well, that is awesome. And so for people that are really interested in keeping up with you, Diana, how can they find you? What's the best way to find you or engage with you?
I made it super easy. So if you go in Google and type Divorce Like a Boss, you will find my YouTube channel, Instagram, book on Amazon. And if you type romanovlaw.com, then you can also find my website directly related to family law firm and schedule online appointment using online calendar system.
Wow. And I'll tell you, when I did my deeper dive, when I was researching you, it was easy to find you. And I think Divorce Like a Boss is a great prompt for Google to just go, there you are. Okay, gotcha.
Divorce like who? What?
Yeah, a boss. Yeah, exactly. That's wonderful. Diana, was there anything else that you were just really hoping the listeners could hear today that I may have missed, maybe should have asked you?
Well, I feel like people who are going through hell right now, I would like to repeat what Angelina Jolie said. If you're going through hell, keep walking because there will be a bright side on the other end. I have been through 6 divorces from my parents, my own divorce. It took me 6 years to just go through the first stage of denial. But there is light after the tunnel.
There really is. Yeah. Someone said to me once, and I'm not going to say it correctly, but it was something about, when you're trying to arrive where you want to go and you find that you're not there, you're not done walking yet. So it's like you keep going, right? It's always, and I think that's literally how I like to sign things off. Just going back to that. So Diana, I'm going to say thank you so much for doing this with us. You have been a treat. It's rare for me to get a chance to talk to someone who's so forward thinking like that. And so to experience that and hear you and the excitement you have about it, I'm so appreciative that you did this with us today and joined our show. And so thank you again. God bless you. Thank you for that. And I will just tell our listeners, you guys got a treat today. You know where to find Miss Diana now. Divorce Like a Boss is a great way to find her. That's the way I was able to find her. Do that. Get in there. Get the book. Listen to the things that she has to offer you. She is doing all this from her own experience as a child and wanting to give back and help all of you. She even talked about saving you money. I mean, come on, guys. It's time to get with the program, who the real people are out there to help you. So thank you so much. We appreciate you, and keep moving forward, everyone. Until next time.
Thank you. Thank you, Michael.